Hey, good afternoon, Nighthawks. Hey, Dr. H here. I wanted to go over a few things lecture-wise for the module and make sure we're all on the same page. In this module, we're going to cover chapters 4, 5, and 6 in your book. And I'm looking at your book right now, chapter 4. Let me see it right here. Starts on page 60. And some of the things you're going to need to know for module 4, you're going to want to be able to describe cognitive science, assess how the human mind processes and generates information and knowledge, explore cognitive informatics, and examine artificial intelligence and its relationship to cognitive science and computer science. You're going to find cognitive science on page 60, right underneath the introduction. Cognitive science is the fourth of four basic building blocks used to understand informatics. We started discussing these building blocks in section 1. And so if you need to go back and review yourself, go back to chapters 1, 2, and 3. Make sure you understand a little bit about cognitive science. And you're going to find all you need to know on cognitive science between pages 60 and 64. Cognitive science, interdisciplinary field that studies the mind, intelligence, and behavior from an information processing perspective. It's very important that you remember this. Also, cognitive science can enhance, the integration and implementation of technologies being designed to facilitate the practice of knowledge workers and improve patient care. So we're using cognitive science most importantly to improve patient care. Make sure you understand terms such as connectivism. Um, and connectionism is on page 60 towards the bottom right-hand corner. Make sure you go in and read that and take good notes on that. You're going to want to understand neural networks. Neural networks are interconnected simple processing devices or simplified models of the brain and nervous system that consist of a considerable number of elements or units linked together in a pattern of connections. One that would model the entire nervous system would have three types of units: input, hidden, and output. So make sure you know this. Could be a quiz question. Sources of knowledge is something else that we want to make sure that we're looking at in chapter 4. That's going to be on page 61. You can't miss it. Giant blue bold type. Look right there, page 61. Okay. I want to make sure that you go through and read the highlighted areas under sources of knowledge. Um, let's take a look. Going through your book real quick. Cognitive informatics, page 63. Very important. Wang in 2003 described cognitive informatics as an emerging transdisciplinary field of study that bridges the gap in understanding regarding how information is processed in the mind and in the computer. Computing and informatics theories can be applied to help understand the information processing of the brain. Cognitive and neurological sciences can likewise be applied to build better and more efficient computer processing systems. So make sure that we understand this. And like I said, page 63, cognitive informatics, and it goes all the way through 65, where it runs into a hot topic of the moment, and that's artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the field that deals with conception, development, and implementation of informatic tools based on intelligent technologies. This is an ever-changing field, so make sure you read up on this. I'm going to provide some optional videos for you as well. Make sure you watch those. What is artificial intelligence? Be able to describe exactly what that is. It's on page 65 as far as the textbook definition is concerned. Um, Machine learning. Understand what machine learning is. You'll find machine learning also on 65 and 66. Machine learning is a subset of AI. Machines mine vast amounts of data from various sources, um, text mining, data mining, what have you. The data analyst outputs of machine learning are predictive, proactive, and preventative. Can't talk today. Okay. And so that is chapter 4. And then we move into chapter 5. And chapter 5 is going to cover ethical and legal aspects of health informatics. You're going to find chapter 5, page 70 of your book. Chapter 5, page 70. Okay. Some of the things you'll learn in this chapter is you'll be able to recognize ethical issues in health informatics, examine ethical implications of health informatics, evaluate professional responsibilities for the ethical use of health informatics technology, explore the ethical model for ethical decision making, describe HITECH Act of 2009, explore how the HITECH Act is enhancing security and privacy for HIPAA 1996. And let's talk about HIPAA. HIPAA is spelled HIPAA, not HIPPA. So make sure you get that right. And you'll see in your book on page 71 a description of ethics as well as a description of bioethics. And basically, the first 3 or 4 pages of your book is going to cover things such as ethics, ethical dilemmas, ethical decision making, theoretical approach of healthcare ethics. And you have a lot of bold words on page 74 that you'll want to know the definitions to because you're going to use these throughout the program, throughout the semester. Um, let's take a look here. The knowledge age is a changing healthcare in ways that will not be fully recognized and understood for years. We know this with the advancement of AI and how quickly it's changing. As with any paradigm shift, a new way of viewing the world brings with it some of the enduring values of the previous worldview. And ethical decision-making frameworks will remain constant, but the context for examining these moral issues or ethical dilemmas will become increasingly complex. Where do we use AI? Why are we using AI? What are the moral dilemmas of using AI in healthcare? These are things to think about. And when you look in your book, if you go to page 79, I'm sorry, 78 and 79, you'll see box 5-1 and it's ethical model for ethical decision making. I want you to look at this and see if you can find a way to incorporate this in your group project. And this may pop up on a quiz. So keep that in mind. Ethics. Ethics is a process of systematically examining varying viewpoints related to moral questions of right and wrong. Regardless of the theoretical definition, common characteristics regarding ethics are its dialectical, goal-oriented approach to answering questions that have the potential of multiple acceptable answers. With ethics, there is never going to be just a single yes or no answer. There's going to be several possibilities in which ethics can be applied. Make sure that on page 81, you'll see a page that states examine the ethical dilemma. I want you to make sure that you go through and understand that. Anytime you see a boldface word in your book, you really, really need to know that definition. You're going to come back to use that time and time again. There's some detailed analysis of alternative actions in your book. It would be good for you to look at. You may not have to necessarily know all this for your exam, but you'll want to know it for your professional life. And that's on page 83. It's going to be kind of a greenish color, okay, in your book on page 83. Make sure that you understand the HITECH Act. This starts on page, 87, overview of the HITECH Act 2009. I want to make sure that you understand this. The HITECH Act is a very, very important piece of legislation, if you will, that has it's changing the landscape. Um, the HITECH abolish can't talk again. The HITECH Act established the Office of the National Coordinator for Health Information Technology within the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. It's was passed to help and make sure you know these items, improve healthcare quality, reduce the cost of healthcare, improve people's health by promoting prevention, early detection, management of chronic diseases, protect public health by fostering early detection and rapid responses to infectious diseases, bioterrorism, and other situations, facilitate clinical research, better secure patient health information, and very importantly, reduce health disparities. You will find all of this in your Chapter 5 PowerPoint, as well as page 87, 88, 89, and 90 in your book. Okay. And then, so moving on to Chapter 6, Systems Development, Life Cycle. This is going to start on page 106 of your book. In this chapter, you're going to learn describe how to describe the systems development lifecycle, SDLC, selected approaches to SDLC, assess interoperability and importance in addressing and meeting the challenges of implementing high-tech Act, and reflect on the past to move forward into the future to determine how new systems will be developed, integrated, and made interoperable in healthcare. Page 110 is really the page that, and I'm going to show you here, it's got a case scenario next to it, which I want you to read because you're going to have a case scenario later on in the semester. And this will give you an idea of how these are handled or looked at. Um, SDLC is a way to deliver efficient and effective information systems that fit with strategic business plan of an organization, can occur within an organization, be outsourced, or be the blending of the two. You're going to find all this information on SDLCs, the waterfall module model, all between 106 and 114. The waterfall model is one of the oldest methods and literally depicts a waterfall effect. The output from each previous phase flows into or becomes the initial input for the next phase. That's the biggest takeaway for it. You're going to want to make sure you understand rapid prototyping or rapid application development, RAD. This provides a fast way to add functionality through prototyping and user testing. It's easier for users to examine actual prototypes rather than documentation. You're going to find this in your book on pages 114 and 115. I'm going to show you. Okay. Look at that. We're almost a third of the way through the book. So that tells you how quickly we're going to move through this course. You want to know a little bit about object-oriented systems development, or OOSD. It combines the logic of the systems development lifecycle with the power of object-oriented modeling and programming. Once the system is object-oriented, all of the interactions or exchanges take place between or among the objects. Make sure that you understand and it's on page 116, dynamic systems development method. This is a highly iterative and incremental approach with a high level of user input and involvement. It has 3 phases: pre-project, project lifecycle, and post-project. On page 118, you're going to find a section covering open source software and free or open source software, or OSS. With OSS, any programmer, can implement, modify, apply, reconstruct, and restructure the rich libraries of source codes available from proven, well-tested products. Make sure you understand interoperability. You're going to see this on page 119, along with a diagram that breaks down in the interoperability. You can also find that in your PowerPoints. It's figure 6-3. Let me show you what it looks like in your book. And it looks the exact same in your PowerPoint. And so for chapters 4, 5, and 6, it's a lot. It covers a lot. That's everything I just went over are the things that is a must know for you. It's a lot of reading in this module, but it's a lot of that you'll carry with you throughout the rest of the semester as well as throughout the rest of the program. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask. I'm always here. I'm always available. Once again, this is going to be chapters 4, 5, and 6 for module 2. Make sure you're looking in your calendar and in your D2L module for assignments. Remember, all quizzes and exams are due at noon. Noon. All right. Have a great Nighthawk Nation day, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thanks, everyone. Bye.